And welcome everybody to another Nothing Like a Good Book. And this one is, well, you're going to find out. It's pretty good too. This gentleman, the author, Matthew Coley, he was raised in Michigan City, Indiana, moving to Portage, Indiana when he was 14 years old. And he completed 1 year of college in 1991, and he studied digital electronics and computer science at Ivy Tech Community College. Then he left college to enter the workforce. We always have a little bit of background on our authors, and on this particular episode of Nothing Like a Good Book, I'd like to welcome Matthew Coley. Hi, Matt.
Hi.
Well, please tell us about your book experiences as an author, as you see now.
Yes. So basically, I have been writing since 2015. It took me 9 years to write my first book. So 2015 is when I started. I just finished it early 2024. Then I actually wrote my second book, which basically took me a matter of months because it was an easy transition into a second book. And I'm currently in the middle of writing my third book. I'm six chapters in as of now.
Wow. Well, I have to ask you because I think you must have a record, buddy. I've never heard of 9 years to write a book.
Yes. I was basically doing it in my spare time as a hobby at first, until a marketing professional actually suggested that I go ahead and publish because he didn't think I knew what I actually had in my hands. So,
Right.
Yeah, if I could go back in time, I would have put much more work into it on the front end.
Well, I want to talk about this particular book, Reunion, okay?
Yes.
Much of the contents, as you say in your book, you had in your head since you were 6 years old. I mean, you had this very vivid dream that really disturbed you. And in the dream, apparently, your mom was being abducted by aliens. And, you know, since you would have been a witness to this, the aliens abducted you as well. And the aliens had procedures to follow where, you know, when there were witnesses. So your mom and you were then taken to an alien facility. And at that facility, they made a copy of her, now called a clone. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
Wow. Fascinating stuff. So what happened then, Matthew?
Yeah, so basically the clone was sent back to the family, and the family had no idea that she had been taken or that there was a clone in their midst, basically. And so you had Sally that was actually taken and had the clone made of her. And they erased the part of the memory of the clone and replaced it with experiences that Sally had had in her lifetime, so that it would be it'd be hard for people to actually know that that's not her, basically.
Wow. Well, the aliens apparently were showing you examples of why they do not try to communicate with humans, as humans can't be trusted. And they claim that that we are the most violent species they'd come across. And they spoke of the fact that their species had never had a war. Is that so?
Yes, that is correct. Yes. So basically, they've been in the background ever since humanity existed, basically, because they were so far advanced from us. They've in my books, they've had a hand in all kinds of different scenarios, going back to the plague. Just any time that there was a crisis in humanity, they were there in the background, and no one even knew that they were there.
So in your mind, there is no doubt whatsoever where your book Reunion came from.
Oh, yes. It was definitely from that dream. That dream was a very vivid dream. And my parents had to actually convince me that it was just a dream. It was so real. And never in my life have I ever had another dream like that.
Do you have any markings on you at all? You know, anything that you normally see as proof that you were abducted?
No. And in my books, it would actually show how hard it would be to actually know that was a real occurrence, because they also have this machine in my books where they actually wipe your memory, and they choose the memories that you should keep, and they get rid of the ones that they don't want you to have.
That's a fascinating concept, isn't it? There must be a reason they would do that. I mean, let's face it, in today's world, there's a lot of attention right now, and we're supposed to be introduced fairly soon.
Right.
I would love to interview one, wouldn't you?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the whole thing is they know that they would not be detected because people would actually think that the person was crazy if they said that they had been abducted by aliens.
Well, of course.
But yeah, and now we're having so much evidence of UFO activity. It's actually, my stories actually end up being pretty plausible.
Yeah, your timing could be spot on. It could be a bestseller, mate. You never know. But let's talk about number 3. You're still in the beginning stages, really, of writing your 3rd book. This is Reunion 3, Crossroads. Anything you can tell us about that?
Yes, this is actually a transformative book. Basically, the first 2 books build upon each other and culminate themselves into the 3rd book. And the 3rd book is more, there's a lot more action to it. If it was in a movie form, it would be an action movie. So it is much, much denser than the first 2 books. The first book sets the stage and gives you a perfect platform to build upon. So unfortunately, you can't read the 2nd and 3rd books by themselves. You have to have the first one to actually have a foundation.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a series.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's that's the way it is, isn't it? And even today, I notice there's stretching out series too. It bugs me. I don't like that. I like to watch it, continually, episode after episode, right through. But I had another author who was very successful, and he's won so many awards for the screenplays overseas, and Hollywood picked up Bad Love Tigers. Let's hope this for you becomes enormous. It's the Reunion Chronicles. The company is Reunion Chronicles LLC. This particular book, and I'm putting it up on my site as well. It'll be the cover shot and also your bio and photo and so on. So that's on markbishopmedia.com. Now, you say you had a good deal of the content of your first book, Reunion, in your head since you were 6 years old. Now, correct. That's a vivid dream, okay? But you believe it could be that you were abducted, right? Well,
it could. With what we're seeing with UFOs now, it's possible it might have happened. That's a really difficult thing because how could you really tell whether a dream was real or not? Mm-hmm. How would you test that,
Well, the whole thing is it could have been astral traveling as well. You just don't know. So, you've had an unusual life, as an author, a little different. I mean, you've had near-death experiences as well, particularly when you were a teenager. What happened there?
Okay. When I was a teenager.
I think it was your first death experience, wasn't
it? So basically we were in a 1986 Ford Escort, and we hit black ice going at highway speed. There was a semi directly behind us, and we did 360 spins basically, and we knew that because the headlights of the semi were flashing across our windshield 3 times. So we knew we rotated 3 times. After the last time, we all knew that we were going to die. So we all yelled goodbye all at the same time. Oh. I mean, you couldn't plan that better. At the same exact time, we all yelled just goodbye. And somehow the car stopped spinning, and it just moved straight to the left and stopped on a dime right next to the concrete divider. So not only did the semi not run through us, we also didn't hit the concrete divider. So we just couldn't believe that we were alive. It took us about 5 minutes to realize that we were actually still alive.
Right. Well, that says a lot to me, I tell you, and when you were 5 or 6 years old, something happened then too to you, Matthew.
Yes. That would have been the time that my father and I were boxing, using oversized boxing gloves, which were harmless. And so when he would punch me, I would do a backward somersault and all that stuff.
Right.
To make it look like it was a really big hit.
Yeah, like you were doing fake boxing.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I sprained my neck doing it the last time. And I was in the hospital, and the doctor told my mom not to let me move at all. If I did, I could be paralyzed. So I was only there a couple of nights. And my mom's coming down the hallway this one morning, and I'm pulling my roommate on a red flyer wagon, basically, running down the hallway. So she almost passed out seeing that I was doing that.
Yeah.
And wanted to know how the nurses allowed it to happen. So they took x-rays and did a whole new series of x-rays on me, and they found no problem whatsoever. And they were shocked. They were just stunned.
Healed in a matter of 2 days.
Yes, exactly.
Very strange. I'm starting to think you're an alien, my friend. Or somehow they got to you when you were a baby. I don't know. So
Never know.
Fascinating stuff. Do you think that being, one of the best book readers in your class, going back those years, and in fact you won the school's spelling bee, do you think all of that contributed to you becoming a writer?
Oh, yes, most definitely. When I was young, I was actually mentoring people in my class. When I was in kindergarten and first grade, I was mentoring all my friends and helping them learn the division table, all this kind of stuff. And I had my own method of doing it back then, which made it much easier. And I was the best reader in the class. I really shined when it came to that. So then they had me doing the creative writings, and I just totally shined. My teachers were really impressed, and that's from grade school to middle school and all the way to high school.
Wow.
And in high school, I got nothing but A+ on my creative writing exercises or assignments.
Is there anything in the family when you go back, hereditary-wise, mom, dad, grandma, grandpop, anywhere in your history of family at all, these gifts were there?
Yes, actually. My mom was an oil painter, and she was known all over Northwest Indiana. I used to actually set her art shows up. Anytime she would have an art show, I was there, and I was setting everything up to make sure everything was in perfect view and right angles and all this stuff. So her fellow artists were really jealous of having someone that could help them with that. And she won a couple of first-time awards as well for the art shows.
Very good, very good. What about Dad? What did he do?
Well, my blood father was a mill worker at first. Then he and my mom had a falling out. They got divorced. Didn't see him for about 15 years. We reconnected later. To make a long story short, and I actually had a stepfather that came along when I was about 11 years old, and was a game changer because he was raising me like he would have raised his own sons.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can relate to that. There's a few things there that in my life, I actually didn't meet my biological father till I was, about 42? He was an opal miner way out in the outback of Australia, and I had believed that he'd died in the war, so that was a first big shock to me. But when you were talking about school and writing and creative writing, from a point of view of being an author and authors listening to this show, I remember at school I won an award for, I wasn't very good at grammar, English grammar, but I topped the class in literature and creative writing. And I wrote a story about a penny that went down the street on a rainy day and went down into the drain, but it came out, and it's where that penny went and who owned it and all the stories that went with it. And it ended up back in the hands of a young boy that had the penny in the first place.
Very interesting.
Yeah, a bit different. But I haven't done anything since, but I'm really starting to want to write now. I'm getting on in life, but there's something inside me there that wants to get it out. And I like to think that, potential authors for this show, do it. Don't hold back. Just when you started, I mean, let's face it, you're not a great example, but it took you 9 years to complete your first book. But when you think about it, who cares? Doesn't matter if it took 20 years or it took 6 months. How did you actually get pen to paper?
Okay. Again, at first, it was more of a hobby that I was doing. If I had extra time on the weekend, if I had extra time after work, it wasn't like I had a regimen. I would just write more when I had inspiration, and I had a lot of stuff that's gone into my life that your podcast wouldn't have time to cover. But a lot of things that have happened to me in my life were basically setting the foundation for my books. A lot of what you find in my book is related to my life in one way, shape, or form. Such as the chapter on the boy genius. When I was in second grade, they were actually wanting to push me ahead of grade because I was so far ahead of everybody. But my mom didn't want that to happen because there were bullies in the school, and they didn't want me to actually be bullied even more.
Oh, that's bad. That's not good, but never mind. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I actually found ways of dealing with the bullying, and things worked out.
Just share that if you wouldn't mind. Just seeing you brought that up. How did you find ways? What did you do to deal with the bullying?
Okay. We found things that were in common. I ended up playing basketball with a couple of them, baseball with a couple people. I was really good at sports, so we would play kickball, and we would really bond that way. So interestingly enough, the jock kind of things was what I was really good at as well. So I actually had a mixture. I was smart, but I was also good at sports, and you normally don't get that mixture.
Wow. Well, that's smart. You turn things around psychologically. It took a lot of guts to do that, though. It took a lot of, good old Hotspur there to take that on. Funny, your first book, 9 years, that's what it took to write. But your second book, less than a year.
Yes. Yeah, less than a year. Actually, probably around 9 months, actually. So, yeah, much faster. Everything was just clicking. It was just coming to me. Everything that I wanted to put to paper was really solid. And I knew I had a good book the moment I started writing it, really, to be honest with you. I knew that it wasn't going to be as hard as writing the first one.
So, okay, let me ask you this then. Who as writers inspired you the most?
J.R.R. Tolkien with his Lord of the Rings series. That was the primary because of how he had such character development and world, building basically a world to house all those characters. It was just really impressive to me growing up.
And who else?
Who else? C.S. Lewis, also for the Chronicles of Narnia.
All right.
And that's actually where Chronicles came from for my company name, the Reunion Chronicles. Because I was actually that big of a fan of those books.
Anybody else?
Some of Stephen King's stuff. A fun fact, I actually asked Stephen King to co-write my first book with me, and he turned it down. He said he would have to have full rights to the book.
Really?
In order to work with me, he would have to have full rights to it, so that he could change anything he wanted to without any issues. So oddly enough, I didn't want to go that route. And
no, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. It's you got to look after yourself. Does Stephen Hawking come into the picture at all?
No. Other than that, no.
Okay, and what about?
There are probably some elements that kind of found their way into my books, but it wouldn't have been like a total plagiarism. It just would have been, in the area of what Stephen would have been writing.
Well, in my research on you, you say that the one that inspired you the most was Walter Isaacson.
Oh, yes. Oh, man.
So why?
Yeah. So basically, I don't know if you've read the book that he did on Franklin's autobiography, but just his writing style was just phenomenal to me. And the way he did the autobiography, it's like you just step into the person's shoes. It's so realistic. Yeah.
Do you regard the writing of your books, Matt, as a profound blessing?
Yeah, actually, yes, because I had a big struggle with getting a job as an IT professional. Things have changed so much. It's very hard to get an IT job because everything you do to actually land a job is automated, and you no longer have a physical resume that you're actually taking in to interview for. They have a system that automatically goes out and checks for the criteria of the person that you want to hire, and it'll only return those that are just best matched for that position.
Yeah.
So you no longer have a stack of resumes on the person's desk that they're going through. So they're not even going to see your resume most of the time.
Yeah, they don't even get it. I mean, I don't agree with all of that. I really don't. I can see both sides. The company's trying to save time, get exactly the right person, all this jazz. But The effort
Yes.
of you applying and the effort of the, putting the resume together and the waiting and the hoping and the dreaming and the thinking, that deserves some sort of recognition or some sort of acknowledgement, I would think,
Yes. Yes.
Perhaps even if they had an automated bot that wrote a darn email back to you and said, thank you, you're a very talented
Right.
person, but not for this particular job, but we'll keep you in mind for later.
Exactly. Yeah. I have had a couple of instances of that, but 90% of the time they're not getting back to you at all. So you have no idea, why they went with someone else instead of you.
So, Matthew, what about your family and friends, for that matter? How have they reacted to you, taking a long time to write?
To be honest, they didn't even know I was writing for the 9 years. So oddly enough, I hadn't even told anyone that I was working on it, not even my mother. My mother passed in 2016, and I'd been working on it a year at that time. I hadn't even told my mother I was working on it because it was a hobby. So I really wish I could go back in time, and actually share this with my mother and with other people.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, do you believe in life after death?
yes, I do. So I believe that there will come a time where we'll probably be able to talk about this stuff at some point in time.
Well, what about if I said to you that she knows all about it now?
That would be wonderful. Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
it's what you want to believe. I'm a great believer of that, and I believe that they're with us all the time. Yes, I understand that because the part that always confuses me is, for those who believe, and you're entitled to believe in what you want to believe in.
Correct.
But those in life that believe that, there is reincarnation. Now,
Correct.
your mum passes, gets well because there is no pain. We go to spiritual hospital and heal and learn and check. And now maybe she's been reincarnated, but at the same time, how can she be with you now? And how can she be there for you when you pass? They're the questions that always, concern me. And that's where you've got to go deeper and more spiritual with that, I should imagine. But no, I think she'd be very proud of you, Matt. You believe, though, that the aliens are real. And
yes.
So do I, to be honest. And they probably don't want to have contact.
Right.
But then you look back at, Eric von Däniken stuff and millions of years back of the notes, the history, the drawings, the paintings, the oil paintings done by... They're there in the sky. I mean, it makes you think, doesn't it? Well, I guess the scary part is to believe in aliens and going back before time, what does it do to all the various religions? Yeah,
there's a few things that really make me believe in them. One is the chapter, the book of Ezekiel in the Bible. He describes perfectly helicopters and tanks. And there's no way he could have possibly had any foreknowledge of that. So he had to have contact with something that, actually could see the future or whatever. And then you had Da Vinci that was making things that, no one else had even thought of in his age. So it's very possible we may be visited, they may actually reach out to the most intelligent people or just a person in a certain situation that works for them. It's really hard to say, but Da Vinci could have definitely been in contact.
Right. Yeah, when you think about writers, sci-fi writers, and I mean, look at Star Trek alone. I mean, right from the beginning, way back, and I'm probably older than you, the original Star Treks and all the different sci-fi wonderful movies, often I think, well, God, how did they write this stuff? They must have been connected. They must have been, supported or helped along the way. You can't have can imagination just create all of that? You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
Star Wars and so on. And
and we have cell phones now, which are straight from Star Trek.
So listen, if aliens asked, if you would go with them, right. Let's say they landed, tonight and came and visited you. What would you do?
I would do it. No hesitation. I would have to see what kind of technologies they have. I would have to see if they actually have music. They would obviously have mathematics, which is another thing that makes me believe in higher power, because we didn't create mathematics. We discovered it. So where did mathematics come from? When, if we're discovering it, where are we discovering it from? So there has to be a source.
Yes.
Interesting. And then
advanced technologies, wanting to understand. I tell you what, I was in Phoenix the night of the lights, went right over me, my wife, and my stepson, who's now my son, but and was always my son. I took him on as 4-year-old, but he's now well and truly a man. But we'll never forget that. It was I think it was my birthday too, or the night after, or the night before. I can't remember, March 12th, but it sat there, man. It sat there. I wasn't scared. I was excited. I'd love to meet them. But the concern now is, Matt, whether it is man-made and whether it's, US-made.
Right.
And the mixture of them both. I don't know. Very interesting, fascinating stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, the author is Matthew Coley, Reunion Chronicles. But the book is Reunion. You can check Matthew out. Go to his website, www.matthewcoley.com. Okay.
Actually, that's actually Matthew R. Coley.
Matthew R. Coley. Let me correct that. Matthew, M-A-T-T-H-E-W, Matthew R. Coley.com. And LinkedIn, you're on that as well. Matthew R. Coley on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. Facebook.com, your profile. So people can find you. The book itself, where can one buy it?
You can buy the first book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Google Books, or you can buy the second book on my website itself.
And just as a matter of interest, why not put the 3 books on your own website so that you have one, 1, 2, and 3 as the Chronicles?
Well, we do have the first 2 on there. The third one, we're not going to have any previews or anything like that. So it's just be published on my website when we're finished. Right.
And what do you think today of this business of little videos being made for authors?
Oh, it's wonderful. I actually made my own the other day using an AI tool. I created a full book trailer with music and everything, all with AI. It was very impressive.
Yeah, I would be, yeah. I've been studying myself trying to keep up with it all. But give me an example. How long was it?
It was about a minute and 30 seconds.
Okay. And it's simple with a link to be able to, say, put into a bio, right, online?
Yes.
All right. Well, why don't you send that to me as well, Matt, and I'll make sure that goes up as well, okay?
Oh, fantastic. I will.
Yeah, I like that idea because good old AI, everybody's blaming the hell out of it, but here we go, the wonderful stuff that it can do, because you couldn't have done that before. Oh, well, you could have, but it would have cost you a lot of money. You have to go to other people to do it.
It would have cost me 10 or 15 grand easy to get this video done.
Oh, my God. I offer that for people and way under that. Then again, I've always been cheap. I believe in the underdog, trying to help them, and henceforth this podcast. It's mainly all unknown authors. You're an unknown at the moment, basically. But listen, how are I'd like to know that. How are your book sales going?
Actually, they were strong the first few months, but since the holidays, things have really slowed down. So I really need to get more exposure. So I'm hoping February will be a stronger month. So
good luck to you on that. And has anybody ever approached you screenplays or movies?
There was a couple of people on Facebook that I had chatted with, and they were actually making that suggestion that it should be a screenplay. But
all right, for what it's worth, I live in the backyard of Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
Because back in the day when the Duke roamed around and everybody else, there were a lot of movies made right here in Tucson, Arizona. Okay. We've still got terrific sets. We've got all sorts of things. We've got marvelous. My own business, as a matter of fact, we produce movies on small budgets. Okay. Not Hollywood stuff, but they're still creative enough. And the thing is, we've got a lot of wonderful screenwriters, cinematographers, directors, producers, all here in our own lovely city, and they have to go to LA to get work. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So, by all means, I should say, if you ever want to talk about perhaps looking at making a movie and getting a screenplay done, if nothing else, firstly, I can introduce you to the right people and get that done for you at cost-effective measures, all right?
Wow, that would be fantastic.
All right, my friend, I got to go. Nothing Like a Good Book featured Matthew Coley in this episode. His book is Reunion. You can't miss it. It's all over the place. I wish you all the best luck in the world, Matt. Good luck with everything.
All right, thank you.